Today, I'm taking you through 2 beats that I made by flipping stuff from the Fallout 4 soundtrack. That game, while not the best game ever made, holds a very special place in my heart. So we're starting with UK Garage and then moving our way to lo-fi. So this beat starts, as many of mine do, with a converted machine kit from, appropriately, their UK Garage pack. One thing to note, I played this little percussion roll thing in unquantized and then like moved stuff around a little bit until I got a pocket that I liked and then just like copied that throughout the beat. The rest of this is played with some pretty intense swing, but I just couldn't get a quantized swing for this that I liked, so I just did it manually. Also note that this hi-hat by default is kind of in your right ear. I actually had to tame that a little bit. And then these parts get further and further into your left ear. So you get this nice bouncing around in your headphones or speakers. I have reverb on all 3 of these percussion parts. This is vaguely what my preset looks like. I go for Vintage 2 as my early reflection type, which does a lot of the heavy lifting in a very low mix amount. This kick, as is tradition for me, has a little bit of soft clipper applied to it. And beyond that, it's a pretty simple part. Moving on to the sample flip, which, by the way, I started by just going through the soundtrack looking for stuff to flip, and then I jumped straight to making the drums and figured that I would just make the sample work over top of it, which took a bit more trial and error, but ended up working out really nicely. So it's a very simple flip. So I've got 2 chops here, and I almost could have done this with 1, but I've had pretty bad luck getting the time stretching on this thing to sound good. And so once I got the pitch set the way I wanted it, this is what it sounded like originally. I got it close, and then I just copied this pad over and got that second chop. So this is literally the chop right here. That's it. It's actually like pretty straightforward. So if I go into my processing, I do have a good amount on there, so a little bit of EQ, mainly to cut out that harsh upper mid sound. Air flavor with the timbre sent to headphones, and it's just engaged a little bit, just adding a bit of, well, flavor and vinyl sim. More EQ, wow. And then the ducker to duck it to the kick. I tried to keep it subtle this time. I tried to restrain my instincts to go overboard with the ducker. I use this preset or modified versions of it a lot. This is the Hype Synth on the Complex Saw sub preset. I have changed the mode to mono, added portamento, messed with the distortion and cutoff amounts, and then sidechained it to the kick. Added like processing that may as well not be there because it's super subtle. And that sample's doing so much heavy lifting, and I'm only making a short little beat like for the purposes of this video. So that's kind of it for our main section. And then I duplicated that to create the intro, found a YouTube video with every single one of Nick Valentine's voice lines, and then did a word search in the like closed captioned transcript for the "Do you really want this to be the last mug you see" line. And by the way, I actually made, as a present for my brother, I made a mug with that on it. Haha. That aside, I've also duplicated my bass track and like filtered it way down, cutting a bunch of lows especially. And I also duplicated my drum track and increased the reverb on it. And then for XY, we've got the tape stop, and I've turned up the release a bit. It made it a lot easier to nail that transition. But let's move on to beat 2. Not my best work, but hopefully at least interesting. So we've got 3 hi-hats with varying pitching and high and low cut filters, and envelopes with often the attack turned up, so it's almost a little more of a shaker part, plus this literal shaker part that I have stacked effects on and pushed into the background. A super dry cross stick. It's from my $5 sample pack, link in the description. And then a kick with, once again, a little bit of soft clipper. A fairly decent amount of swing on this one, plus random little bits of percussion and Foley like this paper rip. This cross stick, also from my sample pack. And all together, also this water bottle sloshing. The sample chop is super simple in this case. Once again, I just loaded the whole song into here, found kind of where I wanted to start my chop, and then just copied that pad and adjusted as needed. And really, once again, I could have basically played most of this section all the way through, but I wanted to have easy control over the timing, so. Then we skip backwards. Because this little piano bit was the bit that led into this, and so it makes everything loop nice and cleanly. And you can probably already hear the vinyl sim doing its thing. So that's running through the megaphone old times preset. Once again, quite a bit of noise, quite a bit of flutter. That's doing quite a bit of work. Ducker, and then a limiter just to like turn it up without worrying about it clipping. And finally, once again, the same bass preset, but a little more restrained this time. If you'd like some more Bethesda remixing, I've got you covered up over here, where I flipped stuff from the Skyrim soundtrack. And if you'd like to see me remix something totally different from another iconic media property, I've got you covered with this video down over here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back with a new video in a little bit.